two children, both living with epilepsy. One was diagnosed when they were 5 and the other one was diagnosed when they were 14. They both have different types of epilepsy. One has an absent seizure where they have several a day and they lose time and space and motion. The other one has a full tonic where they actually lose consciousness and have jerking and then have to be admitted to the hospital. Both have to be on medication, which I think messes with their head because it changes the electrodes that are running around in the cognitive area, which can cause difficulty when they're concentrating, sleep pattern, their behaviour, which I think must be very hard to live with. As a parent, it's hard to watch your child have to live in a different lifestyle where they have to really think about what they're doing. Certainly the one living with absent seizures, it must be difficult because they live and they look as if they're living in what we would say is a normal life, but they will lose seconds of their life, seconds of their time every day. Where they may be crossing a road, they can't have gas ovens, they can't have baths, they can't really be left on their own because they will lose that time and space which we take for granted. The other one living with tonic seizures, they can fall down and collapse at any time, which means they could be walking down the street, fall into the road and be run over. With their loss of consciousness, when they come to, they're very disorientated, they will look and can be quite aggressive, often hospitalisation because of their unconsciousness and any injuries that may occur. For both of them it must be a very hard way and it's a disabling of their life. Having children with epilepsy just makes you realise that you need to be around for them all the time. You always worry about them more because of their own safety and it's out of their control. But also it's about giving them the freedom and independence that they should have and that we all have, and allowing them to make the decisions they want to make, but trying to guide them and keep them safe. When they were both diagnosed, it was really hard, knowing that their lives won't be as easygoing as ours are, and how they're always going to have to think over and beyond, also making sure they always get medication, take it correctly. There's also a fear if it's a life-threatening disease at times. And for me as a mum, the hardest thing was when my first child was diagnosed, was that we walked out of the hospital and she turned around to me and said, well, what are we doing? So we went and got some chips, because we weren't given any information, no leaflet, we just were given some medication and told to come back in 2 weeks' time. And when you've been told that your child's got 6 or 12 seizures in 20 minutes, it's quite overpowering and very emotional. There was no support from anybody. You were just given a prescription and told that you'll get an outpatient's appointment. And I think my advice to any other parents would be, go with your gut, listen to what you're telling yourself, know when your child isn't okay, know when you know the medication isn't working. It also means that you are having to constantly be aware of everything, your surroundings, that everything's in place. And if you can go into support groups or speak to other people whose children have epilepsy, I'd certainly recommend it. And I would also say don't cushion your child and allow them to live, but that's a big decision to make. But it is important that they also have as normal life as possible, just knowing that sometimes they have to take more of a precaution and tell people that they have epilepsy, so that if anything is wrong for them, that someone will save them and get them to the emergency services as soon as possible.
I have partial complex epilepsy, which means I have vacant and tonic seizures. I was diagnosed with it in August 2019. Epilepsy affects me in the way that it would stop me meeting up with my friends at times, and it would give me boundaries at school. It would stop me from my learning, and I wouldn't really want to go into school. Which obviously brings me down, and when you're not at school you don't perform well at school, so that affected me and bringing me down as well. I'd worry about having a seizure, which would stop me going out with my mates more as well. The advice I'd give to people with epilepsy my age is just be open with and confident to people about your epilepsy. It shouldn't let you change yourself as a person. They shouldn't think of you any differently.
I'm Frances. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 3 years old. I was put on certain medications that would suppress my appetite, which then meant I had to go on supplements. This made me feel very self-conscious about my weight. Secondly, I was put on different medications that affected my mood. There have been other aspects of my life which have been affected by my epilepsy. One of these is my driving. All my friends started driving when I was 17, however, because of my seizures, I didn't start driving until I was 21. Growing up in my teens were a really difficult time for me, as all my friends started experimenting with alcohol. However, due to my seizures, I had to be cautious. My epilepsy has been a very complex condition throughout my life and has involved me having many types of seizures. These include partial, tonic-clonic, absence, and I've also just had auras. My advice for other epileptics would be to remember to take your medication every day, reduce stress and anxiety, get enough sleep, and be open about your condition.